Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala ali rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome you in tafsir of Surah Al-Taghabun, mutual loss and gain. There is a dispute, very common dispute, about Quranic scholars, whether this surah comes from Mecca or whether this surah comes from Medina. And we're not going to get into this debate, but just before this tafsir, I was thinking about it. Why so? Why we are put in the position as a believers where we don't know, and very often we don't know. And what comes to my mind is an idea that maybe it is for a reason, because sometimes we have to be reminded about the basics, which Mecca's revelation symbolized to us, and sometimes we have to go back to Medina, meaning our lifestyle, and refresh and re-establish our Islam, renew it almost, not only our intentions, but the way we think about it, the way we um, thought about it, the way we practice, the way um, uh, change the ways which don't work for us, not change Islam, but adjust ourselves again to the new understanding of this dunya from the prism of Quran, which speaks to us differently. So this moving between that movement between Mecca and Medina, Medinian and Meccan understanding of Islam, is something that we all experiencing throughout this dunya, throughout the process of growing into maturity, outgrowing our infancy in Islam, and maybe for this reason, we don't know for some surahs, especially 64, whether it's from Mecca or whether from Medina. There are some parts which going back to basic, which is Tawheed, which is believe in one God, refreshing our morals and ethics. But there are moments when this surah talks about Medina and your lifestyle, and prioritizing, I would say. So whatsoever is in the heaven and whatsoever is on the earth glorifies Allah. His is the meaning, and to him belong all the praises and thanks, and he is able to do all things. He is he it is who created you. Then some of you are disbelievers and some of you are believers, and Allah is all seer of what you do. He has created the heavens and the earth with truth, and he shaped you and made good your shapes, and to him is the final return. He knows what is in heaven and what is on earth, and he knows what you conceal and what you reveal, and Allah is all knower of what is in your breast. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, over here, it sounds very Mecki, isn't it? It's very Tawheedi. Sometimes we have to be reminded about this. Sometimes we have to go back to basics. Sometimes life will shock us so much, and this surah will mention about ibtila, trials, tribulations, and specifically it will refer here to fitna, which can be translated as a ibtila, but also as a temptation. We will find that moment here in this surah. But sometimes, subhanallah, we really have to be reminded of the fact that he knew, he preordained within his knowledge, within his permission, within what's better for us accordingly to him who created us. It is better for us. Not only that, he reminds us in just those few ayats, first ayats, look, I've created everything, included you, and everything is in tasbih, everything glorifies me. Let me paraphrase this hadith, which says that if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're reaching out to him with one step, he runs towards you. When you're reaching out your hand, he's stretching out to his his full arm, and so forth and so forth, to the point when he becoming his beloved servant, and he spreads the good news in heaven. So he says to Jibril, look, I love him, I love her, make sure that other angels know about that, and you make sure that you love him, love her as well. And the message spreads, and some angels, they have delegations to go down to earth, through heavens, and everything and everyone who sees those angels accepts this knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loving you, therefore they love you automatically, to the point that even fishes in the lake or in the sea making tasbih for you. And subhanallah, we know that angels are making tasbih for people from the story of Yunus alayhi salam, who was there in the fish, in the belly of the fish, darkness upon darkness, making tasbih to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking him for forgiveness. And it is angels who asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who stand up for Yunus alayhi salam, and they ask Yunus alayhi salam, and they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his forgiveness. So we know it is possible from many situations, sunnahs of the prophets, that animals, um, they have not only feelings. There was a camel who was complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about his owner, sorry, to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about his owner. We know that tree was crying after Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who used to give khutbah, leaning on him, and on that day when he didn't, the tree was crying. So we know that there are things which we can't comprehend, and those things who don't have free will, they can't comprehend probably how come we don't get it, meaning we don't get Tawheed. And it's so difficult to remember that on a daily basis, and that's one of the beauties of Quran, that we're being reminded. And then he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to you and me, he created you in the best of forms. SubhanAllah, look at all those animals, all those reptiles. We could be walking on our knees, we could be crawling, um, uh, we could be less intelligent, less capable, but yet no, he created us in such a dignified way that we even walk on our feet and we don't realize how dignifying that is, because we don't think that way on the daily basis. We don't put ourselves in a state of muhasaba and muraqaba, taking ourselves to responsibility from the perspective of tawheed and our actions, and muraqaba, consciousness of all the blessings. In Quran, in numerous moments will remind us that even if you try, so please don't blame yourself, even if you try to count those blessings that I'm giving you, you won't be able. It is just too much for you. The glory of my creation is just too much for you. You won't be able to count them all. Um, has he has has not the news reached you of those who disbelieved aforetime? And so they tested the every result of their disbelief, and they will be painful torment. That was because there came to them the messengers with clear proof signs, but they said, shall mere no guide us? So they disbelieved and turned away, but Allah was not in need of them, and Allah is rich, free of need, worthy of all praise. So subhanallah, you know, there is that thing in psychology of human that we need to be reminded and remotivated with almost encouraged to continue on our path, including tawhidic path, and we have to be reminded of the consequences of our actions. I like to think about Quran as a contract with us. Like, just think about it when you enter the first pages of Quran, throughout studying Islamic science as well, Sharia per se. You can't turn to Allah on the day of judgment and say, I didn't know. It is impossible, because from the very beginning to an end, in very plain, bold language, simple language, he says to you, through Bible, through Torah, through Bible, through Injil, through Quran, look, this is what dunya is about. You're going to have thirst, trials, fitna, and this is what akhirah is about, the day of judgment, life in the grave, and you're going to end up in Jannat or Jahannam, and this is the reality of them. This is the reality of you in all your eternity. You're going somewhere with this. Everything makes sense, and everything is for the reasons. You can't turn out and say, um, I didn't know. Yes, you did. Yeah, and you can't say I haven't been informed. Yes, you had. It was your choice to listen or not. And those people, those nations which are mentioned over and over in Quran, uh, um, for a reason, obviously, they remind us about the fact that you also have a free will, and you're also living, I'm going to be even more bold, choosing to live in an environment, in society who is less or more tawhidic. These disbelievers pretending that they will never be resurrected. Yes, say, O Muhammad, yes, by my Lord, you will certainly be resurrected. Then you will be informed of what you did, and that is easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, do you remember how I started this? That sometimes we are living in Medina, this established Islamic lifestyle, and sometimes we have to go back to this symbolic Mecca, remind ourselves about the basics. And sometimes we're living in Mecca because we're renewing our faith, or like me, I came to faith, and that was a rebirth, definitely. And I was dreaming about Medina, but I had to reconstruct my life, my mindset, and that's the story for many converts, or those people who are coming to consciousness in Islam. Um, those paths are intertwined, whether you're born Muslim or not. You finding yourself surrounded by people who will laugh at you, literally belittle you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we know that he was in this situation where people were belittling him, they were despising him, they were trying to kill him, and we will find ourselves in this situation as well. I mean, this is part of your Islamic lifestyle. You are not going to be accepted. This Islam came as a stranger, will die as a stranger, and glad tidings to the strangers. So you are going to be disappointed about. You're going to be exposed to Islamophobia and whatsoever, and it is also part of Islam. And he says to you, your creators say with full confidence, with full self-esteem, yes, this is who I believe I am. I am. Yes, this is what I believe in, and yes, I'm absolutely fine that this is what's going to happen. If you don't want to believe, that's fine. But these are my boundaries, these are my morals, this is my opinion. I made my mind up, and I'm happy to repeat myself, and I really leave it up to you, whether you want to believe it or not. With full respect, this is who I am. Therefore believe in Allah and His Messenger, and in the light of Quran which we have sent down, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all aware of what you do. Look at the title of the surah, the loss and gain. Uh, we will read further, and you will see that Allah shows here people who are losing their akhirah, and you are people who gaining their akhirah, and may He keep us as those who are winners. May Him keep us on the side of those who win this eternity. And yet he says, I'm not in need of this. Look, ayat 6. I'm not in need of your prayers. I'm not in need of your path to the haq, to the nur. I don't need that. It is you who need that. Whether you pray, whether you fast, whether you give sadaqah, this is all for you. I am free of needs. He created us in needs, many needs, emotional needs, cognitive needs, psychological needs, spiritual needs, physiological needs. He is free from that. And he says anything you do in this dunya is literally for your benefit. I'm not going to cry. Let me paraphrase. I'm not going to cry if you don't believe in me. Yes, I'm going to give you chance over chance over chance. And I know who is a believer, who is disbeliever. I know if you parading as a believer, but you are a hypocrite inside. I know who you are, and I'm going to bring my knowledge forward on the day of judgment. So he is warning us, and those warnings in Quran are nothing more but psychological and spiritual motivations which we need as humans. ones. And remember the day when He will gather you all on the day of gathering. That will be the day of mutual loss and gain. And whoever believes in Allah and performs righteous good deeds, He will expiate for him his sins, and will admit him to the Goddess, under which rivers flow, to dwell therein forever. That will be great success. There you go. That surah is about success, your eternal success. Not here in dunya, but in eternity. But those who disbelieved and denied our ayats, they will be the dwellers of the fire, to dwell therein forever. And sometimes, we need that reminder, that Meccan reminder, because it is we are so pressured, humiliated, marginalized as Muslims. Um, Disrespected, misunderstood, misrepresented, and so forth. Sometimes we just need to be reminded, and sometimes we had to put ourselves in that mindset as well, that internal dialogue that will strengthen our self-esteem and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, so this is what you're going to do with them. All right, okay, so this is just temporary. All right, so this is just a moment of my life. um, and He says to you in Quran that you can't compare believer with disbeliever, and that is invitation to your strength, to your resilience and self-esteem, if nothing else. Just this ayat number this ayat number 10. And worse indeed is that destination. No calamity befalls by the leave of Allah, and whoever believes in Allah, He guides his heart, and Allah is the all-knower of everything. So, subhanAllah, sometimes you're going to face your situations, people, places, which are going to shock you, which are going to evoke from you emotional, cognitive, sometimes even behavioral reaction. And um, and I encourage you from now on, and I'm sure you remember, I'm absolutely sure you remember those. But I encourage you in those moments to reflect, in those moments to remember this ayat, which says not only you're going to react to what I've prepared for you in Quran, but please reflect, go deep with me into muraqabah, and remember that how you're reacting is from me. He holds your heart in his hands. The qalb is a movable thing, it's a flexible thing. Therefore, even your emotions, your reactions, how you think because of that movement of your heart, which is in his hand, how you behave because of that movement of your heart, which is in his hand, could be a test against you. Could be, the situation could be much easier than it is. The situation might be much or might be less anxious than you think it is. Your own emotions that he's creating are a test against you for yourself. So what I'm trying to say here in a very deep Islamic psychological term is that your reactions, they don't only belong to you. We have to humble ourselves in this experience of not only dunya but ourselves as well. Obey Allah and obey the messenger, but if you turn away, then the duty of messenger is not only to is only to convey a message clearly. So for me as a revert, or maybe for you who you consciously returning or returned to Islam, and we're changing our lifestyles and our families, they just don't get it, and we have to turn away um, our backs to the non-Islamic, no Tawhidic traditions, like right now where I am recording this message. It is well known and very well practiced in my area, Halloween. And subhanAllah, even Muslims, they're practicing Halloween, right? So if you are from this family who tend who if you creating that family who tend they back to this influence of non-tawhidic practices and celebrations, you are going to be belittled. Please be prepared for the fact that Islam is raising you not only in love, in help, but also through those invitations to resilience, through pain, through hardship, through marginalization, through Islamization, even through belittling, or even it may be a religious bullying of your own family. It's also part of your Islam, because Islam came as a stranger, will die as a stranger, and good tidings to you because you are a stranger. Allah, La ilaha illallah, and in Allah alone, therefore let the believers put their trust. O you who believe, verily among your wives and your children there are enemies for you, therefore be aware of them, but if you pardon them and overlook and forgive, then verily Allah is of forgiving, or most Ghafur Rahim, most merciful. SubhanAllah, Ibn Abbas said that there was a time there were people in Mecca who were craving, who couldn't wait to move to Medina, who wanted to embrace Islam for themselves, for their family, with their families, but their families, their children and their wives, or maybe their husband, they were holding them back. And when they finally moved to Medina, they were so upset with their own families. They've seen them as enemies, because those people who moved to Medina before them, they advanced so much. They spend more time among the Prophet and the closest people of the Prophet, and they become the closest people among the Prophet. You know, they made the history, and then themselves they felt hold back. You know, they've seen their family as a lock, and they start blaming them. And if I can disclose that, I myself also felt that at some time when I was coming to Islam as a revert. SubhanAllah, I was so amazed and so angry. I was thinking to myself, how come my family never told me that? How come my parents, how come my cousins, my aunties, you know, those people who have some religious knowledge, they haven't introduced me to Tawheed. I've been living all this life in the darkness. I was so upset with them, and I did see them as those spiritual enemies. It doesn't mean that I didn't love them, respect them, or until now I don't love them and respect them. No, that's not what it was. It was disappointment that I had to go on this journey myself, and I struggled so much to move away from my Mecca to Medina. Uh, and then I found this ayat number 14, which talked about me, and I'm sure that it talks about many of your journeys from Mecca to Medina. Your wealth and your children are only a trial, um, whereas Allah with Him is a great reward. So keep your duty to Allah and fear Him as much as you can. Listen and obey and spend in charity. That is better for yourself, and whoever is saved uh, from his own greed, then they are the successful ones. SubhanAllah, uh, very often we are tempted to take the praise of our loved ones, like societal, economic, educational, materialistic status of theirs, tempt us into growing into diseases of the heart, into diseases of pride, into diseases of maybe um, jealousy, into disease of backbiting or others. Sometimes it's our children who maybe, alhamdulillah, Allahumma barik, they graduated with degrees, and sometimes it's opposite. Sometimes it is children who bringing hardship, fitna, and ibtila to our lives, and we, if we don't look after ourselves, we will also fall into diseases of the heart, things like doubt, you know, in our nerves. It's a very sensitive point that can perpetuate itself and lead us to hardening our hearts. Yet Allah subhanahu says to us, look, I am prolonging life to those people who are even disbelievers. I am enriching their life in materialistic things, in lifespan, in health as well. Don't compare yourself. I am just prolonging the time, because time is really short. My time is not as your time. He doesn't count the time as we do, but He counts actions. He subscribes our actions. So keep your duty to Allah and fear Him as much as you can. Listen and obey and spend in charity that is better for you. And whoever is saved from their own greed, then they are the successful ones. If you lend Allah a good loan, He will double it for you and will forgive you. And Allah is most ready to appreciate and to reward, most forbearing, all knower of the unseen and seen, almighty and all wise. Subhanallah, this is invitation, indirect invitation to tazkiyah. Tazkiyah meaning purification of your heart, to muraqabah, being conscious about the state of your heart, being honest with yourself, with your qalb, with your emotional and spiritual state. This is indirect invitation and response to any fitna and ibtila that happens in your life. What do I mean by that? Is that if it's impossible to get out from any situation or any memory of situation, because sometimes we traumatize, sometimes we are holding the inner child trauma, just go into tazkiyah. And if you're hurting so much and it's so difficult for you to connect with your heart, do it through fasting. It's not mentioned here, but do it through charity. You know, you can make dua and gift into charity, and this is investment. This is like a loan. You are investing in your akhirah. You know, there were sahabis, there was time where sahabi, they didn't they they hated to give hand to hand sadaqah. They hated, they were shy to give it to miskin, um, because their mindset was that they miskin, the miskin that they helping is higher than them, because they make giving them a favor. They giving them the favor by them having opportunity to help them. They giving them the favor in a sense of akhirah. So train yourself like this. Think about those people who you can help with finance, with advice, with physical help. I don't know, whatever is it, even a smile, um, whatever is it that you do as a sadaqah. Please train your brain and think that actually this is them giving you favor. This is gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, invitation to not only invest in your akhirah but also help you here with those struggles you're going through, because if nothing works, look for another step. And this is the psychology of Quran. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses His beautiful names, Shakur and Halim. Subhanallah, Halim is such a special name. Halim means not only He's forgiving, but He always give you chance. He always give you chance. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're not Muslim, He constantly giving you a chance. He's constantly giving you a chance to grow into your consciousness, to purify yourself, to purify your health, to come back to Tawheed. And He knows what's going on in your heart. So even if you're lonely in all those struggles in this dunya and the struggles of your relationship with yourself as well, He knows. He's always there with His knowledge. And He says, I am Alim, of seen and unseen. I am almighty and all wise. You're never alone. And with this beautiful reminder, inshallah, I am sending my salams, and inshallah I see you in next tafsir. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.